Hey Truth Seekers, it's Nathaniel and Carolyn here, and we are going to be doing our next video in our strategy series. And this one's going to be focusing on the power of love and what makes it good and our win conditions and things like that.
Yep.
So beginning, we have our Truth Seekers for love. So on our left over here, we have Calvin. And Calvin says that our victory condition is win by defeating 5 Sinnies. Our Truth Seeker here in the middle is Sophia. If you're facing a Sinny when your turn begins, you may draw 2 extra cards during your draw phase. And then Yana over here says that every Sinny revealed to you has its base defense reduced by 2 points. So the biggest strength with love is its fellowship, but also its defeating of Sinnies and making Sinnies easier to defeat. So it is a very Sinny-based strategy in a lot of the cards and a lot of the play styles, especially with these Truth Seekers the way that they are. So we will go ahead and start off with our big boys up here. Sorry. We have our ultras. So we have several of these over here. And let me just turn you up here. There, it's a little bit better. So we have our 4 ultras here, and starting with Agape Sora. Agape Sora is a 13. It is a level 1, as all the ultras are, but it is a 3 specified cost, but it has a really short verse. So that one's really nice out there. He is the biggest of the ultras for love. Next we have Treshelle Ultra. She is 2 specified and 1 unspecified cost for 12. So having that extra specified cost over here on Agape Sora makes him just a tiny bit better. Over here we have 2 specified and 1 unspecified for Saltine, and he is an 11. So him and Treshelle, out of the 2, you'd probably want to run your Treshelle. But Saltine is great for what he does. He's got a little bit longer verse, but he speaks life. He is that salt of the earth guy right there. And then finally over here we have Flo. Flo is a 1 specified and 1 universal for 9. However, what it lacks in virtue points, it makes up for with this awesome ability that says you may discard this card from your small group, and if you do, search your deck for 3 Animo, reveal them, and place them in your hand, and then shuffle your deck afterwards. So this card is great. It can be searched with certain story cards and things like that that allow you to just go get whatever Animo you need. So this one sacrifices itself, and thus far I don't think we've ever actually played Flo for points. So these are the ultras for love, and they're starting off pretty strong over here. Next, we're going to be moving to some of our kind of utility cards. So we have Akinleo and Popraise over here. We don't consider these to be win condition cards, but these are great cards to keep in your small group to help you get to that point where you can defeat your Sinnies and things like that. Popraise says that as long as this card is in your small group, ignore any effects from the actions of any Sinnies that are revealed on you. And Akinleo over here says, as long as this card remains in your small group, your opponent may not reveal any mega Sinnies on you. So this guy protects you from having any big boys out there against you. And this one says that they have no action and it doesn't affect you, which is awesome. So keeping these guys in your small group is pretty great. These are really good cards to attach things like Pulse Chains to or something like that. They're still not terrible value. A 3 for 7, it's not the greatest, but it's also not the worst. And a 2 for 5 isn't too bad either. They also have pretty short verses, so that's pretty nice. So we've got those going. Moving on to our fellowship bonuses over here, we've got a couple of these smaller cards that have a good fellowship bonus. We have Muyu over here. He's a 2 for 4, which is not great, but he's also a 2 for 7 if he has fellowship with hope. And then Ragdoline over here, again, a 2 for 4, not that great, but is a 2 for 8 with that fellowship bonus. Again, we talked about the power of love is our fellowship bonuses. So we've got a couple here. These are also, again, 2 for 4, but they both have a fellowship bonus of 8, one with the Holy Spirit, and one can do with anything, which also includes itself. So if you have 2 Fairlies out there, you're paying 4 for 8, and which would be 16 for all together. So you've got some pretty good value in these fellowship bonuses here, but not something you would necessarily want to play on their own. Again, we have just our lovely fellowship bonuses here. We have a 3 for 4, which is honestly pretty terrible value. And we have a 3 for 5, which is, again, pretty terrible value. But when you see what they can do with their respective fellowship bonuses, a 3 for 10 is actually pretty good value. So we like those with Holy Spirit and with Hope there. Next, we have, again, some more of our kind of utility Animo. So we have our Quillo level 2 in here, which is a 1 for 4, which is actually pretty decent value, but the action on this is really what makes it worthwhile, and it says search your deck for either 1 special power card or 2 standard power cards and add them to your power pool. So you can send this out if you just have your Truth Seeker out there. If you're able to get this in your first or second turn, send this out there and you've got either 2 standard power cards or your 1 special power card out there that immediately go into your power pool during your score phase, and you're able to use those for the rest of your score phase. And then we have Servitude from the Cross Trainers set, which says that once per turn you may draw 1 card for each Faith, Hope, or Holy Spirit Animo in your small group. Now, he doesn't draw for your universals, but that's okay because he allows, or your love, he allows you to just draw cards, which is great. He's a good card to just kind of leave in your small group and attach your like Paul's Chains to or something like that. He just is a really good draw card. There is a new updated Servitude that is a universal Servitude in Red Letter Day. So just keep that in mind when you are setting up your deck. If you want to do love, you want to put this one in there as a draw card, but only if you're using other things. If you have a mono love deck, he's probably not going to be good for you because a 3 for 8, it's decent value, but you wouldn't be able to use his ability.
And the only reason why I put Servitude in this was because he is a 3 for 8 and he's a love Animo.
Right.
He's better with other decks.
Yep. So next we have Fondly. Fondly out here, it does have a growth stage, which is a universal growth stage, but we put this in here because anything above an 8 we consider a win condition card. And so Fondly is a 2 for 5, but with Hope, Fondly is a 2 for 8. Or a 2 for 10 if you have that ability to grow that, or if you choose to put the level 2 in your deck. Moving on, we have Heartbark level 2 and level 1 here. Level 1 is a 2 for 5, 2 specified, which isn't too bad. But over here we have this 2 for 7, or if with Faith, we have a 2 for 10. And this one says search your deck for up to 2 Animo with victory point score of 8 or less. Reveal them and place them in your hand and shuffle your deck afterwards. So Heartbark is pretty great. He's also just pretty cute too. I mean, look at that. He's cute. But yeah, that 2 for 10 is pretty awesome, along with a pretty cool action there. Next, we have our level 1 and level 2 Flamingo. And as we've talked about in other videos, flamingos grow and they basically change color with whatever their diet is. So this one was fed a lot of love and he is now a 2 for 8. But he also has the ability that says when this card is played from your hand to grow Flamingo level 1, you may search your deck for 1 love power and add it to your power pool. So he grows it directly from your small group, which is awesome. And then he's a 2 for 8 over here, which is just pretty great when you think about it.
Utility and great value.
Yep. Next we have Saltine level 1 and level 2. And then we also have Saltine level 1 and level 2. So both of these Saltinis, this one was from Cross Trainers and this one is from Red Letter Day. And you can see that by their little marks down here of what they are. And these are pretty great. So the Cross Trainers one is a 2 for 5, which is the same value as the Red Letter Day Saltine level 1. It's a 2 for 5. It's 2 specified. The Red Letter Day one does have a shorter Bible verse. So if you're looking at trying to like memorize all the Bible verses in your deck or use that for defeating cities, you definitely want to put this one in there instead of this one. However, this one is a 2 for 10, or he has a 14 on his Holy Spirit Fellowship bonus. So he gets a good amount of points. That is on par with our ultras without being an ultra, which is great. But then we have this Red Letter Day Saltine. He's a 2 for 8, which is good value. He has this great fellowship bonus of 11, but also he has this ability that says, when played to grow Saltine level 1, return your active Cine to the hand of the player who revealed it to you. Now, this would help with any abilities that are on the Cine because those are typically only as long as the Cine is active. But if there's, say, an action or something that says that the Cine's action is for the player's next turn, this wouldn't get rid of that action. You'd still have to obey that, but the Cine gets returned to the hand of the player that dealt it to you, which is pretty great. So you're not having to overcome it with your points for that turn. However, you may see that Cine again your next turn, which could be to your benefit or your detriment. So when building these, definitely keep in mind like what your main goal of your deck is. So if your goal is going to be strictly fellowship bonus and you have Holy Spirit, I'd probably go with this one. But if you're looking at doing other things and you have a more Cine-based strategy, definitely going with this one is pretty great. Again, both of these Saltine level 1s are the same. So I would look at the Bible verse if that's something that you want to go with. If not, you want to keep these together, that's great. So just kind of keep that in mind when building your decks with love. Moving on to our Cine defeating dragon over here, we have Agape Sora level 1, who is a 2 for 5, and he says once per turn, discard 1 Faith or Hope Animo from your small group and search your deck for 1 Love Animo and place it in your hand. So he's really good in decks with other colors because of that ability, but even not, he's great just for his level 2. Because level 2 says that as long as this card is in your small group, any Cine that's revealed to you also has a weakness of Agape Sora in addition to its stated weakness. So any weakness that you have on a Cine, if you don't have that one in there, but you have this one, man, this is a great card because this one's going to be its weakness as well. Not to mention it's a 2 for 10, which is really good value. And honestly, this Bible verse is pretty easy if you look at it a couple times. And once you've said it a couple times, this one is a great one to keep on there. Not to mention, it doesn't specify level when it says what the ability is. And so you could have a growth stage here, and then you could have another Agape Sora level 1 over here. And if you've already used this verse to defeat something, or at least tried it, you could also come back over here and use this one as well. So it just says that its thing is Agape Sora. Now this doesn't apply to the Ultra because Ultra is part of the name. So this would not apply to the Ultra unless you're facing the Cine that's weakness is Agape Sora Ultra. And then you just have all 3 that you can just throw out there at different things. So it's pretty great.
And just for the record, how many times have you quoted this Bible verse to get rid of my sins?
Oh, many, many, many. Just about any game I run it in, I typically use it at least once per game. Which is all you can use it, but I also use the level 1 as well. Moving on finally to our beautiful flagship character for Red Letter Day, we have Treshelle. We have Treshelle level 1, level 2, and level 3. So level 1 is a 1 for 2. It's not the greatest of values, but it's not terrible either. But specifically, we're looking at Treshelle level 1 to either add some kind of equipment card that gives it more points, or we're just looking to grow it. Now, this Bible verse is kind of long, so I would recommend trying to learn that one before a game starts and not having to worry about that once the game has started. We have our Treshelle level 2 here. She's all cute, getting her little bows out there on her ears. And she is a 2 for 6, 1 specified and 1 unspecified. Again, we have a pretty long verse here, though. And so she's pretty good. 2 for 6 isn't terrible. But specifically what we're looking for is we definitely want to get to this level 3 over here. It is a 2 for 12, which is on par with our ultras. And it also has this awesome fellowship bonus of 15, which is just absolutely amazing. It's got a pretty short verse here as well, but this ability is just really what makes her awesome. She says that if this card is in your small group, it provides 2 love power during your score phase. This card may not be activated in the same turn the ability is used. So if you're able to get this out there and you only have, say, 2 power cards, if you're kind of running into power drought, you can use this one and it acts as 2 power cards as well. And so you have a lot of good things that can come from this. And then finally, we're going to move on to our equipment cards. Now, again, the power of love is really what you can do with it, with our fellowship bonuses and also its Cine defeating capabilities. And it doesn't necessarily have a lot of draw power. It doesn't really have a lot of other things going for it. But these just really help that kind of push that over the edge. We have our tools of the trade over here, which allow the love Animo to whom this card is attached to gain 2 virtue points when activated. But if it's activated against a Cine, it gets 4 virtue points extra instead. So this is a great part to put on Treshelle level 1 or level 2 if you need to, if you just really need to play them. This would be a great card to do that with. And then finally, we have our Belt of Truth, which says that when this card is attached to a love Animo, instantly draw 2 cards. And then, once per turn, as long as this card is attached to any Animo in play, you may peek at the top 4 cards in your deck and return them into your deck in any order. So this one is great to look at things. It's great if you need some draw power when you attach it to a love, but you can attach this to any card. It's not stopping you, but you wouldn't get that extra draw to if you attach it to something that is not love. So really awesome value here. It really helps with some of those cards that maybe you don't want to play, like your Potpourris or your Kinleo, that you just kind of want to sit there. This is a really great card to put on it because then you get to look at other things. And let's say you have a story card that allows you to draw the top couple of cards. This is great to stack the top of your deck. So really awesome equipment that we have for love there. But yeah, love has a lot of power on its own, but it is better when it is with others, which is what makes love love. So that, my dear Truth Seekers, is our strategy series on love.
All right. So in the meantime, Truth Seekers, keep learning virtues and defeating Cines.